April 8th, 2025, and I'd appreciate if you turned off your cell phones as this meeting is being recorded. Ellen's not here to do the roll call, so can we just start down there and we'll go right to the other end?
Marjorie Callan Carson, present.
Jim Riley, present.
Charles Carey, here.
Matt Lacavoli, here.
Mrs. Bobby Granado here.
Janice DeRoberts here.
John Weiner here.
Liz Walters, present.
Okay, thank you. And now we have our board chair here, kid chair, Naya Quasi, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And for our student and staff recognition, we have our kid chair here with her essay. And I want you to meet the superstar who's about to take our schools to the next level. This future leader has the creativity and ideas to make every school day an adventure. So let's give a warm welcome to our Kid BOE Chair winner from Highcrest School, Naya Quasi. Okay, Naya, it's all yours.
I believe I would make a great Kid Board of Education chair because I possess the necessary leadership qualities of a BOE chair. This includes me being kind and attentive and able to listen to my peers. I additionally want to make sure that everyone gets a say. I want to be the Kid Board of Education chair because I aspire to foster a safe, creative, and inclusive learning environment in Wethersfield schools. This would include the students, teachers, and staff. Something I intend to implement right away is making sure students are able to voice what they have to say. The way to do this would be a suggestions box outside the office of every school. Students can make suggestions for different activities or after school clubs that they would want to start. It may help our student body find new things that they like to do. This should include them being able to give feedback about what we do for our school, including different activities, and we would be able to create innovative ideas as a community. I also plan to make sure everyone gets the support that they need. This would include being able to talk to the school psychologist and school social worker whenever you need. I would also love to get more special education and tutoring for kids who are struggling, as well as more enrichment for kids who are doing extremely well. Making sure everyone gets the material that they need is important. I would also have the school psychologists and social workers come check in with the kids more frequently, because often our students have a hard time going to them when they have trouble. This will make everyone feel more comfortable. I want to focus mainly on mental health support because mental health in schools is especially important. Kids deserve a non-stressful environment in which they can thrive, and putting mental health first can help with that. I'm also committed to starting peer support groups where peers could talk to each other about everything and anything. From homework troubles to just general social anxiety, our peers would be able to support each other and be able to better communicate with one another. We could be there for each other and maybe even associate better with our classmates. I feel that peer support groups would really benefit everyone because according to the National Institute of Health, stress factors at school, such as unempathetic and unsupportive teacher-student relationships and a poor classroom or school climate, increase the risk for children. This shows me that feeling supported is important in school, and who better to support students than students themselves? As the school environment is more supportive, then kids are less likely to have increased anxiety and depression. Having a safe and peaceful environment would be important for us as students. Also, this would help decrease stress and increase school safety. I would also like to advocate for multicultural days, which would be days where people could express themselves and would add a more diverse element to our school system. People could bring in cultural items such as headpieces and share about their heritage, and it would make everyone feel seen and heard. This would be especially important because every student deserves to feel valued. We could also implement more diverse books in the library, such as books about kids of different races, LGBTQ kids, and kids with disabilities. This would again make everyone feel seen and heard. In conclusion, I think I will be a great fit for the Board of Education chair because I have a passion for fostering a supportive and diverse school environment. focusing on mental health support, and want to make our school better. Some of my plans are studying peer support groups to help each other out, having diversity days to celebrate everyone's culture, and getting more diverse books in our library. I believe these things can make our school a more welcoming place for everyone, especially our students.
I'm just going to let her sit here, okay? That was excellent. Thank you. Yes, let's get a picture. Actually, let her take this. Okay, thank you. You
Nice
were
work.
excellent.
Yeah,
Please
nice work.
stay, okay? Stay for a bit. All right, that was our student and staff recognition. Excellent. Okay, next on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes for our regular Board of Ed meeting on March 25th, 2025. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, discussions? All set? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Those minutes are approved. Now, is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Come on up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you that you have 5 minutes. And another reminder, board members do not make comments immediately following a presentation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Glanowski, and I live at 24 Morrison Avenue. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to advocate for greater awareness, acceptance, and inclusion of neurodiverse children, those with autism, ADHD, and other developmental differences in our schools and town programs. These children are often bright, creative, and full of curiosity, but because their behavior may not always look typical, they are frequently misunderstood. A twice exceptional child who struggles with impulse control may be seen as disruptive rather than enthusiastic. A child who moves a lot or speaks loudly may be labeled defiant rather than simply needing support. A child who struggles with self-regulation isn't trying to cause trouble. He's doing his best with the tools he has. When adults expect these children to just know better or just stop without extra guidance, we fail them. When adults focus only on compliance rather than understanding the child's needs, we end up punishing kids for having a disability instead of supporting them through it. These kids are not trying to be difficult. Many are working incredibly hard to regulate their emotions and behavior, but it is a process that takes time, support, and the right environment. Punitive approaches, removing them from activities, isolating them, or treating them as troublemakers do not help them succeed. It is heartbreaking to see children pushed out of classrooms and programs, not because they are unwilling to learn or participate, but because the adults in charge lack the training, patience, or flexibility to support them. When those children are suspended, excluded, or shamed, sometimes repeatedly, it sends the message that they don't belong, and that message stays with them for a long time. It is especially disheartening when families who try to work collaboratively are met with defensiveness or even subtle retaliation for speaking up. Advocacy on behalf of a child should never be met with punishment. We can do better. I urge this board to prioritize meaningful neurodiversity training for all town staff, educators, program leaders, and administrators. We need inclusive policies and a culture that seeks to understand before it disciplines. When we build environments that support neurodiverse children, we don't just help those kids, we create stronger, more compassionate systems for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Jennifer Curry, 162 Straddle Hill. With the budget not yet approved or finalized, I am here tonight to advocate for 5 school security personnel, 1 for each of the 5 elementary schools. I understand that was an original intent that has been reduced to 3 in the proposed budget. I also understand that our current security director has thoughts or a plan for how to spread the 3 potential personnel across 5 schools. However, to be blunt, every school needs one. I'm intrigued that there will be some matrix puzzle design for which security will be where, at what time, and covering what. The long and short of it is every single school needs one, and we're talking about elementary schools that do not have assistant principals or potentially even other certified administrators in the building. 5 would be an incredibly logical next step for our schools to ensure safety for all our students and for all our staff on so many different levels. So I'm going to tell you a story about an incident that occurred in an elementary school within the last 2 weeks. A second grader was kicked and hit at recess, unprovoked, by another second grader. And this occurred at recess where there are recess aides. However, I'm not sure that a recess aide job description should include student physical altercations. When the recess aide asked the student to leave the area, they did not. A certified staff person was called to come outside. The student also did not listen to them. I believe another student was also hit and kicked in the process. This happened to be at a time when the principal was not at the school, something that understandably must occur due to commitments of the role and within the district. So you have a recess situation where more than one student was physically hit and kicked by another, and the staff worked hard to remedy the situation. Realistically, I think everyone here can agree that was not ideal, and I don't think that this story is an anomaly. Typically, a large task of an elementary school security personnel is to be a presence at recess, and as a trained adult supervising that situation, it could have played out differently. I am not naive enough to think that a school security personnel can prevent things from happening, but their response to when things do happen can be quite different from a recess aide. In many districts, this role is a retired police officer who has intensive training in de-escalating situations. They also have a presence that would be known to students, and I can tell you that's clearly a huge positive piece of their role. And I speak in front of you not only as a parent, but as an educator who has been at all levels, including elementary school, for 8 years. When I comment, I try to come from a place of logic and understanding. I think maybe sometimes I'm more understanding of what the whole system can and cannot do based on my own career. Our elementary students and our elementary staff, our elementary school families need 5 security personnel, 1 dedicated to each school, to develop a relationship and a rapport with everyone in the building. Not only to be there during drop-off and pickup, which at many of our schools is a process itself, but to get to know every student in the building, have that relationship with them, and be out there at recess. And then for those specific pieces, the custodial parent situations, the DCF situations, and heaven forbid, situations that are much more challenging. We are a district that is light on administration, and the support that security personnel could give is countless, especially assisting our elementary principals who are honestly flying solo in their buildings. They don't have an assistant principal. They don't have a second administrator in charge. When they are out of the building, another elementary principal is on call. We need to support them more. Additionally, I am looking forward to the data that Mr. Emmett was asked for from Mayor Lesser about the local area elementary schools and their elementary security. I would venture to say that Wethersfield is not at the same level and standards as our area communities. We need to support our students and families more, and I don't think that 3 patchwork together across 5 is going to work. I support 5 security personnel, 1 permanently residing at each elementary school. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, Mr. Emmett, you have some communications for us?
I do. Thank you, Mrs. Granado. Good evening, everyone. It is my extreme pleasure to let everyone know once again that the Wethersfield Board of Education has selected the next superintendent of schools. It happened at the last board meeting coming out of executive session. Mr. Jeffrey Wibby will serve as the next superintendent of schools. I want to talk a little bit about the transition process because it has already started. Mr. Wibby is currently the superintendent of schools in Region 17, encompassing Haddam and Killingworth. So in spite of that, he has already started the process of transition. So we have met multiple times. We have talked on the phone, and we have also texted. So my goal here is to make sure that the transition is as seamless as possible. Obviously, I'm still continue to focus on the day-to-day operations. It was mentioned by one of the public speakers about us being thin. We are extraordinarily thin right now. We do not have an HR director. Our business manager is currently out on leave. So quite frankly, there's a couple of us running the whole district. So it has certainly been a challenge. With that being said, we're thinking ahead to the future, and the future is what will the structure of central office look like? And that's something that Mr. Wibby and I will be talking about. He has already started to come out and meet with staff. He came over to the Stillman building today and was able to meet with all of the office staff at Stillman. We have him coming to a administrative team meeting, and I know he will be coming to board meeting, correctly,
May 13th. May
So
13th.
for a meet and greet. So we're certainly happy to have him aboard. With that great news comes a bit of bittersweet news I'd certainly like to announce. And with mixed emotions, the upcoming departure of our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Sally DeStoli. Sally will be leaving the district at the end of the school year on June 30th to become the Executive Director of the Odyssey Charter School in Manchester. So I can tell you full well, and you've seen it, Sally has done a great job in terms of curriculum and instruction and really ensuring that we are moving this district forward. So our loss is certainly going to be the Odyssey Charter School's gain. So congratulations, Sally DeStoli. A couple of items on tonight's agenda, one of which is the cancellation of the Board of Ed meeting on June 10th. That is our graduation night, so we will say farewell to the class of 2025, and I can imagine that all of you, like me, would rather be there than sitting here. So that will be before you this evening. The upcoming For the next board meeting, we will be bringing forward to you a schedule of next year's board meetings so that you know when they are. That will be an action item for you. Next week, we will be on vacation. The district will be closed on Friday, the 18th. I do want to let everybody know that on the 21st of April, that is the townwide budget hearing, so that'll be right here in council chambers. I will give a brief overview again of the board-approved budget, and then Town Manager Presley will then present the town budget. And then it's your opportunity as residents to be able to have your say. We also will have a meeting with Town Council on May 1st, where we'll dig into some of the line items and answer questions that they may have, with the idea of getting the allocation from Town Council no later than May 15th. So we're already looking at staffing for next year. We have a series of retirements. So with that, we're looking to fill those positions. Right now, we have started to post. However, these postings are pending funding. So they are anticipated. So we're going to wait until we actually get the funding before we move forward. But we want to develop the pools and get started on the interviewing process. Also want to talk a little bit about the building project. I am quite certain that Mr. Weiner will talk more about it, but just want to let everybody know that from a school district perspective, we remain partners with TSKP as well as Downs Construction. So right now, currently working on educational specifications. We're utilizing Hanmer School as kind of the foundation and the framework. Our task is to shave off approximately 3,000 square feet to meet the space standards. So we're engaged in that. And then today, I received some data from NESDEC, who is currently doing the enrollment study portion of this work, which is required for a grant application. So in my spare time today, I was able to go back and find very specific grade level numbers dating all the way back to 2020, 2021. I'm glad I keep all of my old class size reports. So we're getting that data together so that NESDEC has what it needs to get the data out. We are anticipating a grant application submission well in advance of the June 30th deadline with the state of Connecticut, which, pending a referendum, will hopefully get us on the priority list. So again, it's a tremendous amount of work, but we remain committed to making sure that we do what we can to see this project forward. So, and with that, it's communications.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, tonight we have one action item. Liz, would you please read our recommended motion?
Sure. I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education cancel the regular Board of Ed meeting scheduled for June 10th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is approved. Okay, and then we move on to, hold on, our reports, our discussion reports here. And we have our first one is on, both of them are on policy. So Matt, would you read to both of them or speak to both of them?
Yes, I can speak to both of them. Thank you, Bobby. So I'm sorry, let me find my minutes. On Wednesday, April 2nd, the Policy and Planning Committee met. We discussed a couple different policies. I'll go over the first one. later under the section Meetings Held. In this section, I will just discuss the 2 policies that we read and voted on and are moving to you all tonight for a first read. That is the revised policy 1400, school security and safety, and revised policy 1600, policy regarding visitors and observations in school. So these policies, as per most of the ones that we implement and vote on and deal with, come from public acts or general state statutes. There's not a lot of policy that doesn't come from those things. So again, some of these things are considered state mandates. So these policy updates that were brought to us from Shipman and Goodwin, they basically have to do with immigration enforcement activity in schools, specifically which individuals in our school district are designated to deal with or interact with an immigration authority should they appear in person, and as well as the updating and submitting of our district security and safety plan, which is currently being updated for submission to the state. Those are the general concepts of these 2 policies. If anybody has any questions, myself, Marjorie, Bobby, Jim could answer. I don't know if anyone has any questions on them. If anyone?
But it is the first reading, too.
Yes.
This is the first reading. Any questions from
Yeah.
Matt? Okay. Matt, thank you. And you could go right on because you have the next policy.
Yes, so in addition to those 2 aforementioned policies that are before you for a first read, we also discussed the implementation of a new animal policy, which was brought about by a proposal made by an elementary school PTO who asked for a therapy dog. We currently have no policy for either therapy dogs, facility therapy dogs, or service animals. We reviewed the current animal policies for 3 area school districts to see how we would like to craft ours in consideration of theirs, and work on this policy is still ongoing.
And that's a first read we're going to have on that, or no?
No, we're still working on that. The only thing that is before the board tonight for a first read is the revised policy 1400, revised policy 1600, having to do with school security, safety, and the policy regarding visitors and observations in school.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so those are meetings held, meetings scheduled. You're on this one, too. Finance and Operations Committee before our next board meeting.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Come on up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you, public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Okay, are there any board comments?
Yes.
Chuck?
One thing I was thinking as we called on, as Mr. Emmett mentioned, Mr. Weiner is part of the building committee now. Could we make a standing agenda item under discussion items to have the building committee? So this way, when Mr. Weiner gives an update, we can have a discussion around it as opposed to in board comment where there can't be a discussion. I think we should have a standing agenda item going forward. And if he has nothing new to report, then he just says there's nothing new to report. But this way, there's an opportunity for the board to have discussion with the chair of the building committee and for the town to hear what's going on in a discussion format. So if that going forward is possible, I'd appreciate that. I just want to piggyback on what Mr. Emmett said. We did unanimously vote Mr. Jeff Wibby as our next superintendent. It was a tremendous process that we went through. Being the only board member who went through the process about 14 years ago for Mr. Emmett, it was the same rigorous type of process. Mr. Wibby stood out amongst the candidates. I think he's going to do a great job. He brings a lot of background in buildings, curriculum, has a lot of diverse background, have been an elementary principal, have been the superintendent of Connecticut Technical Schools, so overseeing high schools throughout the state. So I think his diverse background is going to really help us move us forward. So I'm excited to have Mr. Wibby here. And unfortunately, I don't have any ESPN highlights tonight for sports, so I am all done. Thank you.
Thank you, but go UConn. We could have did it. All right, anyone else for board comments? Janice?
I went to the Charles Wright PTO meeting on March 26th, and they are in the middle of selling yard goat tickets for Charles Wright Night. The ticket sales close on April 18th, and this year their Charles Wright Educator of the Game will be Dee Dee Mahoney. She will be recognized on May 12th. But before then, on April 26th, the same day as this town-wide Arbor Day observance, the Charles Wright PTO will have a beautification day or morning from 9 to 11, and they have some mulch that's being donated. And also that same day, the musical Frozen, which is sponsored by Keen for Kids, will have a performance at 2 p.m. There will also be an evening performance of Frozen on the 25th, Friday night at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children. April 28th to May 2nd is Screen Free Week, and during that time, their PTO will hold a second Scholastic Book Fair. And I just wanted to mention, too, I was able to get to the Human Library on the 30th, I believe, no, the 29th. And it was really remarkable, and I look forward to the Historical Society doing that again. It was really intense, very, very good. And the last thing I want to mention is that coming up on May 10th is the Wethersfield High School Walk for Val. It'll be sign-up time or check-in time is 9:30 to 10 and at the Wethersfield High School pool entrance, and the walk begins at 10. I just wanted to, it's not till May 10th, but I wanted to say something now in case people are interested and want to start thinking about it. For more information, you can reach out to Val's mom, Andrea Peralt, at 860-721-4741, or to Mrs. Russo at the high school. Val was a 2008 graduate of Wethersfield High School and then a Quinnipiac graduate. She died of cancer in 2022. She loved the outdoors and had an adventurous spirit. The money raised will provide a scholarship for a senior who exemplifies Val's spirit.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Anyone else for closing remarks? Jim?
The career fair will be held this Thursday morning at Wethersfield High School, so I'm looking forward to that.
Good, thank you. Don?
So I will give a building committee update. Thank you, Mr. Carey, for that introduction. And I do agree we should have it as a standing agenda item, and I'd be glad to answer any questions and discussions that we have as we move forward. There's a lot going on in the project. Obviously, last week, actually the last couple weeks, we've had several different meetings. As you now know, or you should know now, that the building committee has adopted the full entire master plan as recommendations to both us, the Board of Education, and the Town Council. Tomorrow here is a building committee meeting, and it will be held in, obviously, Town Chamber. That meeting is going to go over preliminary cost information for the master plan. So I do encourage the public to attend. There will be public comment as well. That is going to, again, be preliminary cost. I want to make sure that people understand it's not the final cost. It's preliminary numbers that Downs Construction and TSKP have been working on. All of this leads up to a couple different dates. The most important date for this board is May 13th. May 13th, our meeting, we will get a presentation from myself. I'll actually have to go over there and then come back here. And then TSKP will also present all the information in regards to the master plan. That it will include ed specs that Mr. Emmett was just mentioning. That will be when we officially will adopt that master plan to then be sent to Town Council, which they will take to a June date for their referendum question to finally be voted on at the end. One last update, non-building committee related, is last Saturday I had the pleasure of attending the Hamner Pancake Breakfast. It's in conjunction with the Hamner PTO and the Wethersfield Dads Club. It technically could be my last one where I'm flipping pancakes. My daughter's going to Silas, Deane next year, but I think they're going to recruit me to come back because I'm doing such a good job. But it was a really great event. Appreciate everybody coming out and participating, and I think the food was pretty good. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Marjorie?
I have a few things. I just wanted to thank the building committee and all the people who've been working very hard on the building committee. They've had many meetings and opened the public to a lot of information, and I just want to thank them for all the work they've done. I also want to remark on, I attended the capstone presentations this past week where the junior class at the high school had to do each student had to present some sort of either a passion project that a new project they did, or they had to defend kind of their learning in the high school and pick a certain subject for it. And I was able to see 5 or 6 students in my group, and I was a community volunteer, and there was teachers as well, Silas Deane teachers and high school teachers, and it was just amazing what the different things these high school students chose to present on, the variety, the maturity, just being able to speak in front of people they don't know for the most part. And it was just a very enjoyable process. And I'm really proud of these students. And it's one of those things where they have to do it in order to graduate. So there's a lot of pressure on them, but they did a great job from my perspective. I also think just want to remind that the walk bike this Wednesday, Jen? No?
May 7th.
Oh, it's May 7th. All right, forget it. I thought it was the 7th. And I also just want to thank Sally Tostoli for all her work in the district. And even before I was on the board, I was a parent who was kind of active and had questions, and she would always be willing to talk or email and give information, even when there was a dispute or a problem or whatever. And I've really always appreciated you, and you're just a pleasant person to talk to most of the time anyway, and you're always really informative, and you've done a great job, but I hope you have a great adventure in your new job.
Hey, thank you. Liz?
Sure. So I'd like to pivot off of what Marjorie had shared about the capstone project, and also give a shout out to Kristen Muzinskis, who brought this program to Wethersfield, built it out, and it is truly incredible. Every junior has to provide a capstone presentation. There's so much that goes into teaching these kids, from picking a topic that is meaningful, eye contact, poise, how you carry yourself, what you're wearing to a professional kind of, situation, how you're speaking, how you're reaching your audience. And I give these kids so much credit. I'm sure all of us can admit that we are nervous to even sit behind, these microphones at time, and to have these kids go up in front of community members and teachers. It's just incredible, and I applaud her efforts, and I'm so happy that Wethersfield has this as part of our program. In addition to that, I am excited, as well as Jim, for the career fair at the high school on Thursday. I think it starts at 7:30, runs till about 10:25. I will be there myself, and I'm happy to say that I have a bunch of Wethersfield High School graduates who are now in the workforce at the company I work at, who will be joining me back so that they can talk to the kids and kind of walk through their journey of how do you go from being a high school student to your college choices, to your career choices, and what opportunities might exist for high school kids rather than waiting until college to get into some sort of an intern program. The third thing I'd like to share is that we are searching for the principal for Charles Wright for an upcoming retirement for our Charles Wright principal. We had our day 1 of day 2 search committee meeting last Friday. It's a very rigorous process, exciting, and we look forward to our next round of interviews. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Liz, I just want to piggyback on that. That was an excellent morning, a day of interviewing. We had some wonderful candidates. So thank you for being part of it. And I, too, am incredibly proud of our juniors who are doing their capstone project. It really was amazing to see them, and they were a little nervous, but they get comfortable very quickly, and they're explaining a project that they're passionate about. But not only do they have to demonstrate their knowledge of a particular subject, but they also have to be thinking critically, and they also have to share these ideas to us so that we understand them. It's wonderful to see, and they are doing it next year in 8th grade, too, in the middle school, which is very promising because that gives them a chance to do it again as juniors in our high school. Also, on May 13th at this Board of Ed meeting, but starting at 6 o'clock, Jeffrey Winby, our recently selected new superintendent, will join us for a meet and greet. So we will be here looking forward to greeting Jeff with a warm Wethersfield welcome. So thank you. Any other comments? All right. Is there any unfinished business tonight? Okay. So may I have a motion to adjourn this
So moved.
meeting? Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Thank you all. Good night.
I saw you reaching for your microphone.